Hi guys, it's BJ here. Welcome to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to do this Netflix analysis. So we have some business questions which we are able to answer with the aid of this data set. So let me just show you how it looks, the analysis. So we have the first business question, which is what type of content dominates Netflix, as well as which countries produce the most Netflix content, then followed by what genres are the most common on Netflix, as well as the rest of the analysis. Okay, so these are the business questions which we are going to answer with the aid of the Netflix dataset. So the first question being what type of content dominates Netflix, movies or TV shows. So we are trying to check the margin. So we are trying to check the percentage of movie compared to TV shows, and also which countries produce the most Netflix content, what genre are the most common on Netflix, how was Netflix content library grown over time, as well as the rest of the business question. So we have a total of 6 business questions which we are going to answer. So let me show you how the data set looks like. So this is the data set. Okay, so this data set which we'll be using for our analysis, and it contains about 7,788 records. So that's that, guys. So let's dive into our Jupyter notebook and begin the analysis. So for this analysis, I will be using the Visual Studio Code, which is currently linked to my Anaconda. If you have Jupyter notebook open on your browser, you can as well use that and follow this tutorial. So let's get started. Okay guys, welcome back. So let's start with the analysis. So let's bring in the dataset first and also load our libraries. So documentation. So we need the Pandas library. So Pandas stands for panel data, as PD the alias. So and as well as Matplotlib for visualization. So the Panda is for data manipulation, while Matplotlib is for visualization. So let's load that. Okay, it's loaded. So let's bring in our data sets. So pd.read.csv, it's a CSV file. So we'll be using arrow, which stands for raw string. So the reason why I'm using this arrow is because there are some escape sequence that is being treated differently in Python. So with this raw string, it's going to translate everything as a string instead of escape sequence. So let's bring in the data set. So right click on this and click copy as path. Okay, then Ctrl V to paste. Now let's convert this into, let's load this into our data frame. df equals to Netflix dataset dot copy. So the reason I'm doing this copy is because in case if you were to make a mistake during our analysis, we can always revert back to this. So that's why I'm doing the copy. So let's inspect it, the first 5 and the last 5 of the data set. Okay, so this is our data set looks like. So we have the index followed by the show ID, content type, then the title, the director, and as well as the cast, the country of production, the date it was added to Netflix, the year the movie or TV show was released, the rating, the duration, the genre, as well as the description. So for this duration, as you can see, for TV show, it is in hours, while for movies, it is in minutes. So that's why you're seeing this for, and for this data will be treated differently. So we are not going to do averaging on all this. We are going to first subset TV show for TV show and subset movie for movies. So that's that. Okay, so now let's inspect the data. That means the metadata. So def.info. Okay, so we have about total of 7,787 records, and the columns is about 12 columns in total. So from here we can see that we have some missing data or missing values or data points. So for this directory we have some missing data points here, as well as for country we have missing data points, likewise for cast as well. And also, as of this data type, as you can see, for this data that it's an object instead of date time data type, so we are going to treat this as well. So let's begin with cleaning the data. So the first step is to check for duplicate records. So df.duplicated. So let's sum it and see if it contains duplicate record. Okay, that's that. We have 0 duplicate record. So let's check for null values. df.isNA. Can either use is NA or is null. It's going to return the same value or values. That sum. Okay, as you can see, for the director, we have about 2,389 missing values. For cast, we have 718. For country, we have 507. For data that we have about 10. And as well as for rating, we have 7 missing data points. Okay, so what we are going to do now is that we are going to do some data treatment. We are going to treat this data. So let's start with that. So def. So let's start with the director first. Director. Okay, df director. So we are going to use dot fill NA. So we are going to fill it with not available, which is n/a for not available. Likewise for cast and as well as for country as well. So let's do that along the same line of code. So cast df cast dot fill NA. So not available df. So for country as well, okay, so that's that. So for this date added, so because you can't add NA or not available as a date time object, so I'm going to be removing this record as well as with this written record as well. So I'll be removing these last two missing records. So I'll be removing them. So let's run this and see. So df dot isNA dot sum. Okay, so as you can see, we have filled this cast and country and director with NA. So that's why you are seeing 00 here. So let's remove these records as well as for this rating, since it's totally insignificant compared to about 7,797 records we have. So it can skew our analysis compared to removing about 2,399 records because of this missing data points here. So you got the gist there. So that's that. So let's remove this. So df.dropNA, so subset, we are dropping by what? Or date added, comma, then followed by rating. So in place, that means we want these changes to take effect. In place equals true. So run. Okay, so that's that. So now let's verify if we still have missing data points or not. So as you can see, everything is tallying now. Okay, so now what we are going to do now is that we are going to convert this data from this object into a data type. So to do that, so we are going to use def date added equals to, we are going to use the pd dot the datetime function. Then we'll be converting what? This column here. So date added, and run this. Okay, so now let's verify if the data type is of the appropriate type now. Okay, so now we are done with our data cleaning. So now let's proceed into answering the business question. So for the first business question, we have, what type of content dominates Netflix, movies or TV show? So Ctrl C. So hashtag. Now to answer this business question, we have to go into the type column, which is the content type column. So df type. So now we are going to check for the value count. Now, so you are trying to check the percentage and not the actual number. So we are going to normalize this. So normalizing it to turn it into fractions. That means percentage from one another instead of the actual values. So true. Now let's see how it looks. Now as you can see, 0.69 and 0.30. So let's convert this into percentage. So multiply times 100. Okay, so as you can see from here, so you can see that the TV dominates about 70% of their content, while the TV shows dominate about 30% of their content. So now let's plot this on a pie chart. Okay, so copy this, Ctrl C, and paste. Then use .plot method. So kind is going to be pi. Let's run this and see. Okay, so this is how it looks. Now let's do some cleaning. So for the x-axis label, I want it to be empty. And for the title, so it's going to be content type distribution. So let's run this again and see. Okay, for the y label, sorry, this is supposed to be for y-axis instead of x-axis. So that's that. And let's use plt.show to remove this. Okay, so that's that. We have been able to answer the first business question. So that means movie dominates about 70%, while TV shows dominate about 30%. That means they focus more on movies than on TV shows. So that's that for the first business question. So let's proceed along to the next business question. So which countries produced the most Netflix content? So let's copy this business question. Now let's head to the country column. So country. So still the same process, dot value count. let's see the whole countries, and also let's sort values in descending order. That means ascending equals false. So let's see. So as can see, United States have the most movies, followed by Indian, then United Kingdom and Japan. So we have the top 5 countries, excluding this not available, excluding this. So let's plot this on a bar chart. So dot plot. So kind is equal to bar h. So now this is going to show for all the whole countries. So that's why it's taking time before it's load up. So I'm going to quit this. So I'm going to stop this process and only see the top 5 countries. So let me stop that. Now let's see the top 5 dot add. So okay, by default it only shows 5 values or record. So we are going to input this to show it explicitly. So run it. So as you can see. So now let's plot it. Dot plot. So kind bar h and run it. Okay, so as you can see, this is how it looks. So let's remove the y label, the empty, and also let's put the title. So it's going to be countries with top content on Netflix. So now plc.show. Okay, so that's that. So we have United States having the most content and South Korea having the least content among the top 5. So that's that. So this not available is a missing data point. So we are not treating it as an actual insight. So that's that for that. So now let's proceed on to the next business question. What genre are most common on Netflix? So let's copy this. Ctrl C. Okay, so now we also repeat the same process for genre as well. So df, so genres dot value count. Okay, so let's run this and see. Okay, so from here we can see that documentaries, most of their genres are about documentaries, then stand-up comedy, dramas, comedy, dramas, etc. So now we want the top 5. So dot add and run. So that's that. Now let's plot this on a bar chart. Okay, so we can see that documentaries is the most content they have on Netflix, and the least. So documentary is the most content they have on Netflix, then followed by stand-up comedy, drama from my international movies, as well as the rest. Now let me explain something to you here. So this is the content that dominates Netflix and not the actual watch behavior of consumers or customers. The reason being that they might have documentaries and maybe stand-up comedy is the most watched content on their channel. So hope you understand this. So these are what Netflix have and what they are uploading on their site. It is different from what the users are watching. And also they can do some customer analytics in which they will see that okay, customer prefers movies, or they compare action movie compared to documentary. Then they can focus more on action movie to satisfy customers need. So that's that. But right now we are on the Netflix insight part and not on Netflix customer insight part. So those are the two differences there. So I'll be creating a video on SQL in which you are going to do the analysis on the customer side of Netflix. So that's that for that. Okay, so now let's proceed on to the next business question. So how has Netflix content library grown over time? Okay, so from here, we'll be answering two business questions from here. We are first going to check for the general content as a whole, and also we are going to break it down by the type of content in which they upload over time. That's that. So now, what we are going to do here is that we are going to need the date column here. So df. So we are going to need this date column and extract months of each year from this date column here. So now let's go ahead and do that. So from here, we'll be assigning or creating a new month column, month. So we'll be extracting it from where? From date add column. So we'll be using .dt, which is date time accessor. So to period. So which period do we want? We want months. So month. So from here, it's going to show us each or first day of every month in every year. So let me show you what this means. df.add. Okay, so as you can see from here, you can see that we only have the month and the year and not the date. So now, okay, so .dt to timestamp and run it. Okay, so now as you can see, the first day of every month in every year. So now we are going to make use of this type and this month. We are going to group them together. So it's going to be df dot go by. So we are grouping by month and as well as checking the size or the count of this content. So that size, and let's see. Okay, so we're on the right track. Let's visualize this on a line chart. So dot plot. So kind is going to be a line chart. We want on the x-axis empty, on the y-axis empty as well. For the title, so Netflix content growth over time. Then we want grid lines through, and also we want the shape fixed size to be 10 by 4. That means the width should be 10 and the height should be 4. Now plt.show. So let's run this and see. Okay, so this is looking nice. Let's expand it. Okay, so this is looking nice. It's looking nice. So as you can see, from year 2008, they publish low contents. Low contents. There's a spike in 2012. Then it went down. Little spike in 2014. And then from 2015, they started uploading more content. So as you can see as that the growth has been increasing with some downs and more highs. So from 2016 all the way to about 2021. So this is for all their contents. So now we are going to plot for movies and as well as TV shows across time as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So we are still going to use this approach. So it's going to be def dot group by. So now we are grouping by month as well as type. So dot size. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so now let's convert this into a data frame. Let's reset index and name the column, which is this new column, as count. Okay, so this is this. Okay, so now we are going to transform this table into a pivot table. So let's give it a label, content by time. Okay, so that's that. Let's rerun it. Okay, so now let's change this into a pivot table. So it's going to be content by time dot pivot. Okay, so for the index is going to be the month. So for the columns is going to be the type, and also for the values is going to be count. Let's run this and see. Okay, so we are on the right track. Okay, so now let's plot this on a line chart. So we'll be making use of Matplotlib line chart. So plot plt dot plot. So for the x-axis, so it's going to be our contents by time. So this is the index. So dot index, then followed by this movie column. So content by time. So movie, and also let's label it. Okay, so plt dot figure. So for the figure, which is the fig size, so let's use 15 by 4. Now, before we plot this below, so this is our canvas in which we are going to plot this line chart. So we have to set the canvas size first before we actually plot. That's why I'm prioritizing this. So now plt.legend, you want it to show this label, that's legend, then plt.title, so it's going to be content growth over time. So plt.show, let's see how it looks. Run. Okay, so looks like we have an issue here. Okay, so now we are supposed to reassign this back to itself. So that's why we are seeing that issue. Now let's rerun this. Okay, so now let's add our grid line. plt.grid is true, and run it again. Okay, that's that. So we can see that looks like in year 2013 they didn't post any movie content. That's why you are seeing this gap here. So, and also in 2008 they didn't post any movies. So now let's plot our TV shows along this so that we can be able to understand this data more. So TV show. So the label TV show, and let's run this. Okay, so as you can see that there is some gap which is being covered by the TV show in 2013. Likewise, there are some gap here as well. So we can be able to understand that at least from the first business question in which movies dominate most of their content. So we can also validate that from here that movies also is their top content. That means they focus less on TV shows and upload more or focus more on movies. So that's what you can understand from this chart. So that is that for this business question. So let's proceed on to the next. So what is the age distribution of Netflix content? So let's copy this business question. So now I can do this analysis in two ways. So I can actually plot this on an histogram, which is supposed to be the actual way of doing this, but I want us to be able to see clearly. So I'll be doing it with bar chart, and as well I'll be doing it with histogram as well. So now let's proceed. So it's going to be DF. So it's going to be released here. So now let's start with the histogram first and see how it looks. .hist, and also let's run this and see how it looks. plt.show and run. Okay, so as you can see from here, we can see that most of the movies, the release year of most of the movies which was published on their site is between year 2000 and year 2020. So we can't be able to see much or make much sense of this data, although we can bend this maybe with 5 years gap or so. So let's go ahead and bend it first and see how it looks. So bend. So let's use 5 years. There is not much margin. Let's use 10 years. Okay, as you can see, we can't be able to make much sense of this. So what I will actually do is that I'll be using value counts and plotting this on a bar chart so we can get the actual distribution, how it looks, so that I can be able to dive in and see the data clearly or see what the data is trying to tell us clearly. So DF, so release here dot value count. Okay, so value count, and also we want this, we want to plot it. So let's plot it on kind on a column chart, which is bar, now with bar age. So plt.show and see how it looks. Okay, so now let's expand this. So fig size, let's make it 15 by 5. Let's remove the x-axis label. Sorry about that. X-axis label, and also let's title. Let's include the title. So Netflix content type, year of production. That means the content, the year in which those movies or TV shows they upload is created. So now let's run this and see how it looks. Okay, so as you can see that most of the movies or TV shows, or both included, created in 2018, followed by 2017. So they started all the way from 1959, but at least they passed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's just say the past 8 years. So let's just say that the movies in which they release the most is movie from the past 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, according to me, but it diminishes further away from time. So let's just say it further diminishes away from time. So which can be able to get how it is distributed compared to this. So this actually makes more sense compared to this. So now we have answered this business question as well. So now let's proceed on to the last. So how long are Netflix movies and shows typically? So let's just check for the average of this. And also I want to show you some statistical charts from here as well. You'll be using Instagram, which you have already seen here, and also you'll be using box and whisker charts. Okay, so now let's do this. There are lots of outliers in this data set. Outliers, I mean, they are irregularities. That means numbers that are far off. Just like having 1, 2, 3, and the next number should be 500, 100. So those are outliers. So they are not within. That means they are further apart from where the data are clustered. Like if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have the next number 100, as can see 100 is far away from 1, 2, 3, 5 cluster. So that's what's outlier. Just like irregularities, maybe even human error. It can be human error, or it can even be opportunities. So that's with outliers. They are just numbers that are far off or irregular from the normal data distribution. So now let's divide this. Let's divide this data into TV shows and movies. So now to do this, let me show you. So it's going to be df underscore movies equals to. So now we are going to filter. We'll be filtering for type. So let's filter for movies or movie column. So now let's inspect the first 5. So as you can see from what I said earlier, movies duration are in minutes, while TV shows are in hours. So let's validate this with one of our previous data. As you can see from here, we have duration of 4. So it can't be 4 minutes because it's TV show. So context is important here. If you didn't look at this context here and just average this, the data is going to be skewed because 4 is different from 143 minutes. Although we can multiply this times 60 to give us a minute as well. But I want us to do a clean analysis. That's why I'm segmenting data from TV shows. So now let's do for TV show as well. So let's copy this and paste it here. So df TV show. So here we'll be filtering for TV show. Please note that this is case sensitive. It is case sensitive. Now let's run this and check for the first 5 as well. df TV shows dot add and see how it looks. Okay, now as you can see, for the duration we have minutes, and for the duration of TV shows we have it in hours. So now that's that. So now we want to check how long are Netflix and TV shows typically. That means the duration. That means we are going to be making use of this column. That means we are going to check the average for movies and also check the average for shows. That will be average in minutes, and average in hour. So that's what this means here. Okay, so now let me show you this distribution, because if you were to just use average like that, and there are a lot of outliers in this data, like I said previously, we are going to arrive with an inconclusive data. Yes, that means an inconclusive data, or maybe perhaps a skewed data, which can lead to a wrong conclusion. So now let me show you how. Let's see the distribution. DF. Let's see for movies first. So duration. So we are going to use with histogram first. Let's see with histogram east. Let's see the distribution. Okay, as you can see, this is almost similar to a normal distribution because it looks uniform. It's like a mirror, but just that it's not fully normally distributed. And also we have some outliers here. So that's why I'm saying this. Now let's plot this on, let's plot it on a box chart or box whisker plot. So dot plot. So kind. So going to be box. Let's see the distribution. Okay, as can see, we have some outliers here. These are outliers, and also this one are outliers here. So if we are just use the mean, that means we have to average everything. We can arrive at an inconclusive data. So and here, this is the median. If you know about the 5-number summary in statistics, so this is the minimum, and this one is the maximum. Anything above here is outliers and outliers. Okay, so there are a lot of outliers here. So what you can do is that instead of using the mean and also deleting these outliers, although these outliers are valid data points, but just that some movies can be longer than other movies. Yes, we can have something that ranges from 30 minutes, 20 minutes, to the ones that range to 3 hours, 2 hours. So that's that. So we don't want to remove these outliers. What you can just do is that instead of using the mean, we can just use the median here. So now let's go ahead and do that. So df movies. So duration. So dot median. And let's see the median. So as you can see, the median value is 98 minutes. So now let's print this properly. So print. So let's use formatted string. So the median movie duration is, let's put this in curly braces. That means the value, curly braces, minutes. Let's run this. Okay, so this is it. Now let's remove this 0.0 decimal. So .0f. Okay, so we're on the right track. So let's do for the TV show as well. So we check the distribution as well. Let's define it. Okay, so df TV shows. So duration. So dot east, which is for histogram. And let's see how the distribution looks like. So as can see that our data here is positively skewed. That means they skew on the left hand side. That means most of this we have here is just within the range of 1 to 2 hours. And as well, we have some outliers here. So now let's plot this on a box plot. So v dot plot. So kind. So box. Okay, so as you can see, these are outliers. The outliers. And we have the maximum value, which is between let's just say 3 in between here. Okay, so now what we are going to do here is we are going to use the median as well, because if we were to use the mean, it's going to skew the analysis. Thereby, we might arrive at wrong conclusion, like I said earlier. So now let me recopy this and change some values here. So this one will be in hours. And let's run it. So as you can see, the median TV show duration is 1 hour. Okay. So, and also we can also present here the mean as well, which is the average as well. But so it all depends on choice. But just that, make sure to state that there are outliers in this data when we are presenting your report. So guys, this will be the end of this analysis. So we have been able to answer all the 6 business questions. We have gained some insights from here. So that will be the end of this analysis. So if you don't like this video, please like, subscribe, and share. You can turn on your notification bell so that whenever I post a new video, you are going to see it. So I publish videos on SQL, Power BI, Python, and Excel. So that's that, guys. So have a wonderful day. Bye.